This might surprise you, but it's a science-backed truth. Some of the healthiest-looking foods in your fridge could quietly be harming your body. We're not talking about junk food or packaged snacks. We're talking about natural foods, the ones you trust most, turning toxic simply because they're stored the wrong way. Studies show that refrigeration can trigger chemical changes in certain foods, producing compounds like acrylamide, which the National Cancer Institute has linked to cancer. Cold temperatures can also destroy nutrients and promote the growth of harmful bacteria, increasing your risk of diabetes, metabolic disorders, and chronic inflammation. Have you ever stored raw potatoes, soft tomatoes, or bread in the fridge thinking they'd last longer? You're not alone, but you might be doing more harm than good. In today's video from Health Mastery 365, we'll uncover which everyday foods turn dangerous when refrigerated and how to store them properly to protect your health. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And if you care about staying healthy after 50, subscribe to Health Mastery 365. We share weekly tips that can truly protect your long-term health. Let's get started. The first mistake: mushrooms, the silent danger lurking in your fridge. Let's start with one of the most overlooked yet most dangerous foods when it comes to fridge storage: fresh mushrooms. At first glance, mushrooms seem harmless. They're natural, low in calories, and often praised for their nutritional benefits. But here's the part most people don't realize. Once you wash or slice mushrooms and then store them in the refrigerator, you create the perfect environment for something much more sinister: toxic mold and bacteria. Mushrooms have a naturally high water content, which makes them especially vulnerable to contamination. If moisture becomes trapped during refrigeration, especially after washing or cutting, it opens the door for the growth of Aspergillus flavus, a type of mold that produces aflatoxin. This isn't just any mold. Aflatoxin is considered one of the most potent, naturally occurring carcinogens, strongly linked to liver cancer, especially in older adults and those with compromised liver function. And here's the scary part: aflatoxin has no smell, no taste, and no visible color. That means you could be eating a mushroom that appears perfectly fine, all while unknowingly consuming a toxic substance. According to the World Health Organization, aflatoxin is classified as a Group 1 carcinogen, putting it in the same category as tobacco smoke and asbestos. Yes, it's that serious. Even mushrooms that look okay can become risky if stored incorrectly. Leaving them washed or cut in the fridge for more than 2 to 3 days drastically increases the chance of mold development and toxin buildup. The older the mushroom, the higher the risk, especially if the texture becomes slimy or the edges darken. So how can you enjoy mushrooms safely? Never store them wet, sliced, or in sealed plastic inside the fridge. Instead, keep them unwashed, whole, and dry, ideally in a paper bag placed in the vegetable drawer. And be sure to use them within 2 to 3 days of purchase for maximum safety and nutritional value. The second mistake millions of people make every single day is storing raw potatoes in the refrigerator. It sounds reasonable at first, doesn't it? Cold preserves, after all. But when it comes to potatoes, the refrigerator is the worst place you can put them. Here's why: when raw potatoes are exposed to cold temperatures, their natural starch rapidly converts into sugar. And that sugar might seem harmless until you cook it. When those cold stored potatoes are baked or fried at high temperatures, a chemical reaction occurs between the sugar and amino acids, creating a toxic compound called acrylamide. Yes, acrylamide, a name worth remembering. This compound has been identified by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) and the National Cancer Institute as a potential carcinogen linked to ovarian, kidney, esophageal, and endometrial cancers. Have you ever seen a potato come out of the oven, crispy, golden, or even slightly burnt? That crunchy crust so many people love may be loaded with acrylamide. And here's the unsettling truth. Even if a potato looks fully cooked and not burnt if it was stored in the fridge beforehand, its acrylamide levels could be much higher even if you can't taste a thing. But the risks don't stop there. The humidity inside the fridge also accelerates spoilage. It creates the perfect environment for mold bacteria and fungi to grow. So not only can refrigerated potatoes become toxic, they also become soft, discolored, and end up in the trash. So what's the right way to store them? Do it the old-fashioned way. Keep potatoes outside the fridge, in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated spot, away from direct light. A basket or cloth bag works perfectly. Avoid plastic bags that trap moisture and speed up spoilage. And here's one more important tip, if possible: eat potatoes with the skin on. It contains fiber and helps reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. And when cooking, keep the temperature below 180 degrees Celsius, 356 degrees Celsius, to minimize acrylamide formation. Up next, we'll talk about another everyday mistake that's even more common: storing tomatoes in the fridge. Now, pay close attention, because this next mistake is even more common than the last. We're talking about storing tomatoes in the fridge. Sound familiar? Just open any refrigerator drawer and chances are you'll see it packed with tomatoes. But here's what most people don't realize: cold temperatures damage the internal structure of tomatoes. This affects their texture, dulls their flavor, and most concerning of all, reduces their nutritional value. When a tomato is chilled, it stops ripening. That might not seem like a big deal, but the natural ripening process is essential because it enhances the effectiveness of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant. According to research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, lycopene plays a critical role in protecting cells against oxidative stress, which is linked to premature aging, heart disease, inflammation, and even certain cancers. It helps reduce what scientists call cellular oxidation, or as some like to say, the silent rusting of the body. When you refrigerate tomatoes, you're halting that process and robbing your body of the full antioxidant benefit. And let's not forget texture. Who hasn't bitten into a cold, watery tomato with a mushy, bland taste? That's the result of cold, damaging the tomato's delicate inner membranes, breaking it down from the inside out. The fix is simple: store tomatoes at room temperature in an airy basket away from direct sunlight. And here's a handy tip: if you want to ripen green tomatoes faster, place them next to a banana or apple. These fruits naturally release ethylene gas, which speeds up ripening. Just one warning: avoid eating tomatoes with very green patches, especially near the stem. These parts may contain solanine, a natural toxin that can be harmful in large amounts. Storing tomatoes right helps preserve flavor, texture, and most importantly, their health-protective nutrients. Speaking of bread, why storing bread in the fridge is doing more harm than good. Let's move on to the fourth most common mistake: storing bread in the refrigerator in hopes of preventing mold. This one's a classic. On the surface, it seems logical. But here's what actually happens: cold temperatures strip moisture from bread, breaking down its internal structure. The result? Dry, hard bread that lacks both aroma and flavor. And if you're eating whole grain or naturally fermented bread, the damage is even worse. These varieties tend to lose their texture and taste more quickly when refrigerated, leaving you with something that feels more like cardboard than a hearty loaf. Now, here's the kicker. The humidity inside your fridge can actually speed up mold growth, not stop it. While it may feel dry inside, your refrigerator is constantly circulating moisture. According to food safety experts at the USDA, mold thrives in moist enclosed environments, and refrigeration can create exactly that for bread. So what's the right way to store it? If you plan to eat your bread within 2 days, keep it in an airtight container or cloth bag away from heat, humidity, and sunlight. But if you need to store it longer, freezing is the best option. It not only prevents spoilage, it also helps retain nutritional value. And there's more. When you freeze bread and reheat it in a toaster oven or skillet, it forms resistant starch. Resistant starch is a beneficial type of fiber that aids digestion, helps regulate blood sugar, and supports your gut microbiome. Before we move on to the next foods being stored incorrectly and harming your health, let us know in the comments. Do you usually keep any of these 4 foods in your fridge? And have you ever heard of acrylamide? Let me ask you, have you ever put a firm green avocado in the fridge thinking it would stay fresh longer? You're not alone. It's a common practice. But what most people don't realize is that this habit can completely ruin the texture, flavor, and nutrition of one of the healthiest fruits on earth. Avocados are highly sensitive to cold, especially when they're still unripe. When refrigerated too early, the natural enzymes responsible for ripening become inactive. The result? A fruit that's rock hard on the outside, stringy and discolored inside, with a bitter taste and reduced nutrient content. What many don't know is that this simple timing mistake prevents the avocado from reaching its full nutritional potential. According to the USDA and clinical nutrition studies, improperly ripened avocados lose some of their heart-healthy monounsaturated fats, gut-regulating fiber, and powerful antioxidants that support brain and cardiovascular health. So what should you do instead? Let your avocado ripen at room temperature outside the fridge. And here's a helpful trick: place it in a paper bag with a banana or an apple. These fruits release ethylene, a natural plant hormone that speeds up ripening. Within a day or two, your avocado will be perfectly soft and ready to enjoy. If it's already ripe, you can refrigerate it, but only for up to 2 days. And if it's been cut, store it with a few drops of lemon juice or a slice of lime over the exposed flesh. This helps prevent oxidation, keeping the color vibrant and the taste fresh. Not planning to use it anytime soon? Freeze it. Frozen avocado remains nutrient-dense, making it perfect for spreads, smoothies, or guacamole. Stored properly, it can last up to 6 months without significant loss in quality. Now, pay close attention, because this next food is one of the most eaten fruits in the world, yet it's almost always stored the wrong way. We're talking about bananas. Most people toss them into the fridge right after returning from the store. But as convenient as that sounds, it's a big mistake. Here's why banana peels are extremely sensitive to cold. Once refrigerated, the peel starts to darken rapidly, even if the inside still seems okay. But this reaction has nothing to do with ripening. It's actually the result of natural pigment breakdown caused by the cold. And the inside even worse. The flesh becomes mealy, loses flavor, and its nutrients become less bioavailable, which means your body absorbs less of the good stuff. But here's something even more important. The riper the banana, the higher its glycemic index. That means it releases sugar into your bloodstream faster, causing sharp spikes in glucose and insulin. According to the American Diabetes Association, this kind of sugar spike can increase hunger, lead to fat storage, and over time raise your risk for insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and even some types of cancer. So what's the best way to enjoy a banana? Eat it at the ideal stage with a bright yellow peel, no dark spots, and not overly soft. To slow down ripening, avoid cold storage, and wrap the stems in foil or plastic wrap. This simple step helps block ethylene gas and keeps the bunch fresher longer. And if you've got ripe bananas you won't eat in time, don't toss them, freeze them. Peel and slice them, first store in freezer bags or containers, and use later in smoothies, pancakes, or healthy desserts. They'll stay fresh and nutritious for weeks to come. Now we come to a very serious topic. A powerful superfood that can quietly become a real health threat when stored improperly. We're talking about garlic. Yes, garlic. The same ingredient long celebrated for its healing properties. But what most people don't know is that putting garlic in the fridge can significantly reduce its health benefits. And under certain conditions, it gets worse. Garlic stored the wrong way can even become a breeding ground for dangerous bacteria. Let's break it down. When you store raw garlic in the refrigerator, especially if it's already chopped or peeled, the cold can trigger premature sprouting. Those green shoots you sometimes see in the center. That's a clear sign that the garlic's metabolism has shifted, making it less potent. Most importantly, this change leads to a decline in allicin, the compound that gives garlic its medicinal punch. Allicin is known for its anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and cardioprotective effects, and is especially beneficial for people over 50 looking to support heart and brain health, according to research from the National Institutes of Health. But there's an even more dangerous habit: making a homemade garlic and olive oil mixture and storing it at room temperature. Sounds practical, right? But this creates a perfect storm for Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria responsible for botulism. A rare but deadly illness that affects the nervous system, can cause paralysis, and in extreme cases can be fatal. So what should you do instead? Store garlic whole, with the skin on, in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated area away from direct sunlight. And if you like having chopped garlic ready to use, freeze it. Just chop it, portion it into small molds or bags, and store it in the freezer. This method preserves its flavor potency, and most importantly, your safety. Garlic is powerful when used right, but dangerous if handled wrong. So treat it with the respect your health deserves. We've now arrived at the final item on this list, and perhaps the most surprising of all: honey. For decades, honey has been marketed as a healthier alternative to refined sugar. And in many ways, it is. Natural honey contains anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antioxidant compounds that offer real benefits. But all of those advantages can vanish, or even backfire if honey is stored the wrong way. One of the most common mistakes: keeping honey in the refrigerator. It sounds logical, right? Cold keeps things fresh. But in honey's case, refrigeration does the opposite. The low temperature causes a process called crystallization, where the honey's natural sugars separate from the water. Suddenly, your smooth golden honey becomes grainy, thick, cloudy, and hard to use. Now, here's where it gets worse. A lot of people assume crystallized honey has gone bad. So what do? They stick it in the microwave or heat it in a pan to try to restore its texture. But when honey is heated above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Celsius, it loses much of its enzymatic and antioxidant power, the very things that make it medicinal in the first place. According to food science research and the USDA, overheating honey strips away its health-promoting properties and turns it into little more than sugary syrup. So, what's the right way to store it? Keep honey at room temperature in a tightly sealed jar, away from direct sunlight and moisture. This preserves its natural consistency, aroma, and health benefits. But here's something most people overlook: despite being natural, honey is still high in sugar. That means consuming too much can have the same effects as refined sugar. It can raise your blood sugar stress, your pancreas, increase triglycerides, and even promote fat buildup in the liver and chronic inflammation. Make no mistake, honey is powerful, but it's not harmless. Think of it like medicine: a teaspoon. Once or twice a day may help with a sore throat or seasonal cold. But using it as a sugar replacement in everything, that could backfire. If overused, honey will trigger insulin spikes, increase appetite, promote belly fat, and raise your risk of metabolic diseases, the very things you were trying to avoid. Let's quickly recap the 8 foods you should stop storing in the fridge, starting with one of the most overlooked: fresh mushrooms. When pre-sliced or washed and then refrigerated, mushrooms can develop toxic mold like aflatoxin, a known carcinogen. Next, we have raw potatoes, which turn into a source of acrylamide, a compound linked to cancer when exposed to cold and later cooked at high heat. Tomatoes lose their flavor texture and valuable antioxidants like lycopene when chilled. Bread becomes dry, less nutritious, and more prone to mold in the cold. Avocados, if stored before ripening, lose their texture and heart-healthy fats. Bananas darken and spike blood sugar due to their raised glycemic index. Garlic may sprout, lose allicin, and under unsafe conditions, even harbor dangerous bacteria like botulinum. And honey, when refrigerated, crystallizes and loses much of its medicinal properties if reheated improperly. If you've made any of these mistakes, don't worry. Most of us have thinking we were doing the right thing for our health. But now that you know the science, a few small storage changes can help you preserve nutrients, avoid hidden toxins, and support your well-being more effectively. So tell me in the comments, which of these foods surprised you the most? Were you refrigerating any of them without realizing the risks? If this video helped you, please like it, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Health Mastery 365 so you never miss our weekly tips that can truly transform your long-term health. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.